All right, we should be just getting connected here. I'll give myself a second. Hello, hello. Let me make sure that I have some live viewers. I'm going to glance over here, make sure we're good. I see them tuning in. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. If you can hear me and you are tuned in, please drop in the chat where you're tuning in from, how you're doing today. I am glad to see you guys. My name's Evan Transu. I go by Detective Ev here, and I'll give you the whole spiel of what we're doing here in just a moment. But I would love to hear from everyone where you are tuning in from and just double checking that you can hear me and that we are, in fact, good to go here. Let me get my bigger screen up. All right. Cool. Getting you guys over on the TV. Is there anyone new to our FDN world here in the chat? Oh, that was FDN training asking that. All right. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Perfect. There you guys are at. I'm going to actually put you on the stream so you can all see what's going on and hang out with me here. All right. I'm going to move this over. So sorry if you see me glancing around like a crazy person. Oh, I need to work on my lighting. I'm looking red as a tomato. Sorry about that. I got in the chat who's tuned in. Beautiful. All right. Hello from Pawleys Island. I just played. Oh, that's Tony. I know Tony. All right. Tony, I've seen you before. I was, remember, I was the one playing pickleball there when I lived in Wilmington, North Carolina. We got Boston, Phoenix, Arizona, upstate New York. Cool. Houston, Texas. Not too far from me. I'm in Austin. Maryland in the building. Arizona, Massachusetts. Beautiful. Cool. Glad to have you guys. Thanks for being here early with us. We will be getting started with our keynote here on the hour, but you guys know how this is. I definitely see some regulars that tune in no matter what, which is awesome. We're glad to have you guys here, but we wanted to make sure that we got ourselves started nice and early today so that we had everyone here and ready for the keynote speaker. Let me tell you how these events are going to work. We just started what is going to be 3 weeks of fun. So this is when, we throw Ev out there and see what his capabilities are in terms of energy, stamina, and vocal cord longevity. So November 10th is kicking this all off. We will be going live with you guys pretty much every single day, Monday through Friday, until December 1st. Yes, that does include Thanksgiving in the United States. That's not going to be anything major. We wouldn't want anyone to miss out on that because hopefully many of you are spending time with your family. But as you guys can see in the chat already, we do have an international audience, some of them of which, Thanksgiving in America is not relevant to them. And so we want to make sure that we honor you guys as well. And we have some stuff for you that day. So we will be hanging out then, even if you are in Canada. All right. Where else we got? Ocean Isle Beach, North Carolina. I think you've been on before because I remember someone listing that city or town. And I still don't know where it is relative to Wilmington, North Carolina. So it's kind of funny. Also trying to figure out why, again, I'm looking so red. I promise I'm not just blushing. I'm excited to be here with you guys, but not that excited. So I'll adjust my lighting a little bit later. What we're going to be doing over these next 3 weeks is we have a variety of stuff for you. Some of it is relevant to FDN trainees and graduates. Some of it is for people that have never heard of the FDN course. We're going to be touching on all of it. This upcoming session with our keynote speaker, Kelsey Weaver, she will be someone who is for everyone. If you are not in FDN yet, you're going to want to hear this because this woman went through a bunch of different trainings and programs before she ever decided to go with FDN. And FDN is what allowed her to have a thriving business and do what she is currently doing. She'll explain all of that in the presentation. I actually just saw her pop into my back room. So Kelsey, no one can see or hear you yet. I can just kind of see you in the background. I did have to get us rolling here just so I can say hello to folks, but you look great on my end. And so I'll be able to bring you in. And when I do, we will be live. So she just tuned in to the background with us. But yeah, going to be a fun keynote session to get us started. We've never done like an opening keynote on any of our events. So very, very excited for this. We're doing some fun stuff as well today. Ev's always doing giveaways. So the team they put some restrictions on me. Because if you've ever been on a summer open house event, which is something that we do in June, Ev has a tendency to go rogue and give away 5, 6 advanced courses. But then I say to them, I'm like, look at how happy the people were. You can't get mad at me. Come on. And you can't fire me right now because there's like 100 people watching, guys. Come on. So I will not be able to do my normal craziness on this particular session, but we are going to give away 2 Amazon gift cards, $100 each, and 1 advanced course will be given away. Now, what's cool about the advanced course is since we're only giving away one, Nicole Kruger, who manages our advanced courses, was nice enough to say, all right, Ev, when that person ends up winning, what we're able to do for them is they can just kind of choose from 1 out of 10. We're not able to give all of them away. There's different deals that we have with the creators of those courses, right? Some of them have to get paid in a certain way, but there are ones that we're able to do stuff with, and we will be giving away one of those today. I can see more and more of you tuning in. I'm really glad we did this early. Glad to see you. California, snowy West Virginia. I should ask this really quick while we are live together. Who, and this is just so we can understand how to explain things properly, could you let me know in the chat, folks, if you've never really been on any of our events, you don't know who I am, you don't know who Kelsey is, don't really know what an FDN is. If that's you, just put a me in the chat. And I want that out there just so I can give you proper explanation of everything that we're going to be doing this week. But right now, for those that are an FDN trainee or graduate, go grab a drink, grab a coffee, organic, mold-free, of course. Any caffeine that you need, I got my Zevia here. It is empty, unfortunately. I need my second one. But whatever you need for the keynote, because you're going to be able to sit back and relax a little bit, which is cool. Now, the only problem of doing this on Restream, which is a platform that we're streaming from and not Zoom, is that it takes about 60 seconds for everything to come in and hear from you guys. So I will not have an answer to my question yet. What I will say, though, in the meantime, is some of the events will not be as relevant to trainees and graduates. Like we're going to do some behind the scenes stuff this month, showing people supplement squad, showing people, I believe, we might be doing a hot topics or two. We'll see if that ends up manifesting and happening. But that's not relevant to you guys, but there are plenty that are relevant for everyone. We have some case studies coming up in week 2. I have Ryan Monahan presenting a thyroid case study. Jen Sino is coming in and presenting a case study for us. I don't even know what it's on yet, but it's Jen, so it's going to be great. Bria Gadd, she's known as the period whisperer. And I'm sorry to be so immature and laugh at that. I'm not laughing at Bria. Bria knows me very well. I'm laughing because my dad is someone who landscapes 7 days a week. He works his butt off. And he wonders, what does his son do for work? I don't think he fully gets it. He just knows that I start speaking to a camera online. And there is something that tells me that if my cigarette smoking, landscaping, skin looking like leather dad knew that my job is hanging out with people that call themselves the period whisperer, I don't know if he would disown me or not. I would not disown me. I love these people. I love being here. But his calloused hands, I think, as he looks at them, just have a little bit of remorse when he realizes he's out there landscaping and I'm doing this. So, all right, I see some people are brand new. So welcome. Again, first thing that is most important is I'm not normally this red. I think it's my lighting that I messed up. So I'm going to try to fix that while our speaker is presenting her keynote today. I am not a tomato. This is just bad lighting for whatever reason that's going on. If you are brand new, you truly probably could not be here during a better time. We are doing our largest sale ever on the FDN course this month. It starts today, already active on the website from November 10th until December 1st. It's $2,000 off. And I want to say this to you guys, for those of you that are brand new that put that me in the chat, I want to say this right now so that you can keep this in your head throughout the next few weeks. One of the things that we do pride ourselves in is providing higher quality, free content than like literally anywhere out there. And I challenge you to find me a place that will do what we are about to do over these next 3 weeks. Now, why do we do it? Well, some of it's good faith and some of it's a little bit selfish. So we'll be transparent about that. The good faith side is we believe in principles. And these are great principles to have in your FDN business if you ever have one. You reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. So if you put out good things, then you're going to have a great harvest. If you do more than you are paid for, you will soon be paid for more than you do. I'll say that again. If you do more than you're paid for, you will soon be paid for more than you do. So that's a principle, right? If you have the faith to go out there and put out more than you're paid for, eventually you'll be paid for more than you do. The selfish side of all of it is this. We know that we have the best practitioners in the industry. Now, I would imagine that there's some other dude or gal out there that's on a live stream similar to this claiming the same thing. So I actually not only want to put that to the test, I encourage you, don't buy the FDN course until you watch their stuff. Literally, go watch their stuff first before you buy the FDN course. You make the comparison. You put it side by side for yourself. Because when we show off our stuff for free, that's when we get the most FDN signing up. Like, that's a great way to do business, right? Is when we're giving out this stuff for free, we get the most people signing up. And the only way that we can come to a realization, a reason for why that's happening, like our realization about that is what I was trying to say, is that we must have pretty darn good practitioners. Because when people see it, they want to go do it. So super glad to have you guys here. We are on the hour. Lot of you live. Really, really glad to have all of you guys. I see someone got to meet my dad in San Diego. He said, your dad was so cool. Yes, he was in San Diego last month. But he is cool. He's definitely cool. He's like 1970s, 1980s cool, man. He's got the cigarette hanging out of his mouth. He's chilling. Not a care in the world. So definitely a cool guy. Love him to death. I hope he gets into this FDN stuff eventually, though, so we can keep him around a little bit longer. Although he's killing it with the sun side. Yeah, whoever that is, I can't see the names right now that well, but for whoever got to meet him, you do know he literally looks like a different ethnicity compared to me, even when I am not red, because he is out in that sun so much, and I'm hoping that that keeps him alive for a very long time. So without further ado, we're going to get this rolling because we told you guys to be on a little bit early. So I want to bring in our speaker here in just about 30 seconds. I can see that I caught her off guard for a moment, so I want to make sure that I give her a second here. Kelsey, just give me a thumbs up in the background if you don't mind being pulled live in front of tons of people. No pressure at all whatsoever. Hi, Kelsey. How we doing?
Hi. I'm so excited.
Awesome. You sound good. Look good. Put in the chat really quick. Again, I know this takes about 30 to 60 seconds for it to load in, but if you could drop in the chat a big hello for Kelsey. I really can't explain this enough to you guys, and they're never going to say it because they're too humble and nice, so I will say it for them. These people that choose to do our keynotes and these case studies and this business success session stuff for us, I'm never saying that in a row again. Too much alliteration. They don't get anything from this, guys. And even if we could give them something, even if we gave them advanced courses and all that stuff, it's not even worth it, right? They do very well in their businesses. The amount of effort that they put into making these presentations great and to sharing this information, I cannot stress enough how much this like genuinely just comes from them wanting to share and wanting to help. We could not buy them. We couldn't afford them most likely if we wanted to buy them as a speaker. So I hope that that is just taken into consideration when this is happening and all of this is occurring and these speakers are doing their thing. So Kelsey, you rock. I hope, can you see the chat, Kelsey? You see the people saying hello?
I am. I'm trying to wave and say hi without interrupting you.
Oh, good. Oh, no problem at all. I just wanted to make sure you could see that part of the chat. I really would love to figure out this red thing. This is so crazy that I look like this. But thank you guys for humoring me. So I don't want to interrupt her keynote. So I think it's only fair that we give away something right now. That's how we do it here at FDN. We like to have a lot of fun with this. So we will start with the $100 Amazon gift card. We got to keep it a little slow in the beginning. And if you want the advanced course, I think you're going to have to stay for the whole time and watch Kelsey's presentation. So let's start with this Amazon gift card. And if you've been on live before, I have to do this in the most fair way possible. So I try to give questions that either anyone could easily guess or anyone could put in the chat just based on typing speed. So I'm going to tell you that this one is going to be painfully easy. We're just giving it away for the sake of giving it away. Any single person can get this. And I'm going to put the chat overlay up one more time so that you guys can tell that we're always being legitimate, always being nice, and not just picking favorites or anything. Remember, 30 to 60 second delay. So there's going to be some suspense here. Whoever puts the letters FDN in the chat first, just put FDN in, you will get the $100 Amazon gift card. That's the first one. Who's it going to be? Nice and suspenseful while we wait. Kelsey, if you want, you can actually test out your share screen while we wait for that first lucky person who's doing that FDN button here. Let's see what we got. What do we got? This is, okay, I got it. It's Marin tag 5866. Marin tag 5866. You can see guys right here on the chat overlay was the first person. So this is who I'm talking to. Congratulations. Remember, there's more giveaways that are going to happen throughout our time here, but that is the first one. So congratulations. Now, Marin tag 5866, that name does not mean anything to us. So I don't want you to have to share your email publicly. If you could do me a favor really quick, if you use Instagram, send us a direct message right now on FDN Training and just screenshot this. Let us know that it's you. If you don't use Instagram, put that in the chat and we'll get it figured out for you somehow. But Instagram would be the easiest way. And I'm going to make sure my team knows that you will be entitled to that. So we're going to have more giveaways. Don't worry. And oh, that's so funny. James Ellis said, people knew before you even said it. You guys are picking up on my tricks. Maybe I'll have to get a little bit sneakier for this next one. All right. So congratulations to you. Fun way to start off the month. And Kelsey, welcome to the craziness. Really glad to have you here. do we want to test out this share screen?
Yes, we're going to do it. I'm just making sure I'm not sharing something weird.
Okay.
Is this working?
Yep, I have it in the background for you. I always like to make sure it's full screen first, so it's looking good to me. Perfect.
Okay.
Now I am going to move us. Generally, what I do for these presentations, Kelsey, is I will remove my head completely. I'm here with you, obviously, the entire time, but I don't want to be distracting. If you guys can see this in the chat, it's not going to be full screen. It's going to be like this. Just let us know that you were good to go. And we are going to get this rolling here. So I'm going to give a makeshift bio for Kelsey, if that's okay, because I'm sure she's going to introduce herself in her presentation. Kelsey is someone who I only really got to start interacting with a couple of weeks ago. And you guys need to understand something. There are people that do the social media thing, and they do it for the wrong reasons, and they're not nice, and they're not easy to work with. And then there's others that are salt of the earth people that are in it to help others and could not be easier to work with. Kelsey would fall into that second category. Again, these are the things that you guys are never going to get to see if you just watch her presentation today and follow her on Instagram. But she could not have been more easy to communicate with, more wanting to help FDN. And again, especially since we really didn't know each other until a couple weeks ago and she got recruited into this. I mean, she literally put everything down and said, I'm going to get this presentation set so that these people can be inspired about the FDN model, see what it did for her. So I really hope that you guys enjoy this presentation. That's my makeshift bio. I hope that's okay, Kelsey. I know that you're going to say stuff in your presentation, so I just wanted people to know the type of person that you are. And you guys can expect to hear this for approximately 45 to 60 minutes. We will have Q&A with Kelsey, so please, if you ask questions during, that's fine, but I'm not necessarily going to see them. So wait till she's done presenting. We'll do Q&A at the end. And the first thing that'll happen when we do that Q&A is I'll give away another Amazon gift card and then a few questions, and we will do the advanced course. So Kelsey, the floor is completely yours. Again, I'm fully here with you in the background. I'm just removing my head so that I can shut up and let people get to hear what they came for. Thank you so much.
Yay, no worries, no worries. We'll be excited to have you as a head in the background. Hi, everyone. My name is Kelsey Weaver. And like Evan said, I've been part of the FDN community for years since I graduated back in 2023, but I'm a little bit of a silent killer in the background. All right. I absorbed everything that FDN gave me, and I really focused on what I needed to do. So I'm excited to talk about this because while, again, Evan and I just met, I get to explain my story, and this is probably the first time he's heard my story too. So today is about understanding the rise of FDN, not to glamorize it, but to me, that's what it felt like. It felt like a rise for me, and then the reckoning within myself, and then the realignment that ultimately brought me so much peace in what I do as an FDN, but also what I do as a wife and a mother, which is really important to me. Balance was everything to me. So this is, like Evan had said, if you have questions, jot them down, put them in the chat, just make sure you can get back to them, because one of the most amazing things that I feel like I get to do on a regular basis is connect with people. It is my heart and my soul, and I love doing it. So if there's anything that you ever need, this is the time. You can find me on Instagram, whatever makes the most sense. So here we go. We're going to talk about the early hustle, and we're going to talk about the burnout, and we're going to talk about numbers. I will share with you and be very transparent about how insane things got right after FDN, how I created a six-figure business, and it kind of came to me like a slap in the face, if I'm being honest. It was phenomenal. And then I'm going to tell you exactly what I had to do about it to kind of wrap my head around that type of growth. So this is who I am. My name is Kelsey, and I am excited because I was quite literally on the other side of this presentation 3 years ago. In 2022 is when I decided that FDN was the way to go, and I had been juggling which types of certifications I wanted to do. I have several certifications outside of FDN, and I will talk about every one that I have, because maybe those are certifications that you're thinking about going down, and I'll tell you the positives and negatives of some of those and what I essentially really needed and what really brought me to FDN. It is important to note I am a very transparent person. I'm not going to give you anything but the God's honest truth every single time. And I will say it in a way that is kind, but also non-filtered. You will get the honest truth from me every time, okay? So today we're going to talk about my search before FDN, discovering FDN, from student to practitioner. The first 30 days of graduation after FDN was bananas. I will tell you all about it. Authentic marketing, sustainable practice, resilience is not just for the client, resilience is for the practitioner, and then the key takeaways and of course closing. Okay. So my story is a little bit unique, but I think everybody has a very unique story that really brings them to their health journey and whatever that is. My journey didn't start with certifications. In fact, it started a little bit chaotic. When I was growing up, without going into the gory details, I grew up around instability, bullying, and then really some deep-rooted traumas that kids really should not be navigating. And it's very sad that this is a common story. And I'm sure that a lot of you can relate with that. But what I didn't want was I didn't want to make this about that. I wanted to make this about overcoming that. So when you don't have the emotional tools, I think this goes without saying, when you don't have the emotional tools as a child, you find whatever coping mechanism that you can that's available in order to get you through whatever it is that you're going through. And for me, that was food. For me, that was my comfort. That's how I numbed myself. And then past that, in order to distract from negative attention, I had a sense of control by outperforming everyone. I was an overachiever. So I went from, really using food as a numbness and food as a comfort, and that just being something that helped me. And it created obesity, obviously, over time. By the time I was 11, I was very obese. I was 50 pounds overweight at 11 years old. But it was really hard for me to break that habit. And then when I got into middle school, it was all about how can I get the best grades that I can so that my parents can see me? How can I be the best version of myself so that negative attention doesn't come to me, right? It was about achieving. So when I was in my 20s, early 20s, 21, I got married very, very young. I had my first child at 24, and that was the breaking point for me. I remember the exact moment that I looked at my child. She was laying in this bassinet next to me, and she was perfect because she was 6 weeks old and she's sleeping. And I thought to myself, I cannot have her grow up in the same way that I grew up. I need to be better. I need to lose the weight. I need to be healthy. I need to provide for her. I don't want her to feel like she has to outperform. I didn't want the things that I had when I was a kid. So long story short, I signed up for a triathlon. Like, who doesn't do that when they want to lose weight? Pretty much everybody. You shouldn't do that. I don't recommend it. But that's what I did because I'm an overachiever. And I ran and swam and biked this triathlon when I was 24 years old, and I lost a whole bunch of weight. I was 70 pounds overweight at the time that I decided that I wanted to get healthy. And over the course of 2 years, I lost the weight and I felt really good. Then people started noticing, what did you do? What is happening? What have you been doing that's taking care of yourself? Your skin is glowing and so on. And at the time, I didn't know any better. I just knew that I needed to lose weight and I needed to take care of myself. And so this really launched me into a fitness career. So I became a personal trainer. And then when being a personal trainer wasn't enough, because that wasn't enough of a certification, that was my very first certification ever as a personal trainer. Then I got into more certifications, and we'll talk about that in a second. But ultimately, it was that first chapter that really led me down this path to FDN. Oh, go backwards. Okay. So here we go. This is my favorite slide because I can't even tell you. Honestly, I lost track of how many certifications and continued education courses I have taken over the course of my life. But ultimately, I started with precision nutrition once, and maybe some of you are familiar with precision nutrition. It is an amazing base certification. It is kind of one of those, like if you look at FDN as kind of a college level certification, right? It's the creme de la creme, at least it is for me. Then precision nutrition was that entryway. It was I need to go to elementary school and learn how to read type of situation for me. So precision nutrition level 1, I was able to finish in 8 months. And then I went straight into precision nutrition level 2. And level 2 is a year-long program where you're really working on some business and case studies. And ultimately, if I'm being super transparent, which you should know that I always will be, that it was not my favorite. The level 2 was not my favorite. I think a lot of people loved it, but there's still something very much lacking. I was able to support clients. I became a metabolism coach, a weight loss coach, worked with macros and so on. And I was able to really support people along the way. But ultimately, what I was discovering was you can only count calories and exercise so much to get people to where they want to be. And ultimately as well, their health was still struggling. They still had some kind of, well, I don't know why my gut is this way, or I think it's a hormonal issue that I'm not continuing to lose weight. So I kind of shifted from that macro coach weight loss and said, well, I think we need to really dig deeper. So I had a cluster of certifications from University of Boulder, Colorado. I had some at University of Arizona and so on. And these are just, minor certifications, but they helped me put the puzzle pieces together. And I loved that about these courses. They were small, they were bite-sized, and they helped me really start to get a full grip on what I'm ultimately wanting to see. Now, I did do IIN, Institute of Integrative Nutrition, and I did that in 2019, I believe. And with this one, again, I'll be honest, this left a lot to be desired for me personally. And the reason that is because for me, I really struggled with how many modalities they focused on at once. So they didn't really fine tune and niche in one area. It wasn't about functional or holistic medicine or nutrition. It was, would you like to learn about Ayurvedic? Would you like to learn about, functional nutrition? Would you like to learn about being a vegan? It was so many things, and it felt so scattered to me that I couldn't quite really grip what I needed. And so that one for me, it was definitely not a waste of time because it helped me understand so much about the psychology of nutrition, but it just was so scattered that it left me even more confused on which direction I really wanted to go. Now, I know a lot of people have been in IIN, and it has been really supportive of kind of a nice general practice. I just needed to really understand the human body so much better than what it was able to provide. During this time, I had my third kiddo, Maxwell, and I decided it would be a great idea to become a yoga teacher. For I don't know what reason outside of the fact that I love to do things and I love to learn things. So I definitely became a yoga teacher when he was 6 weeks old. Yes, that was crazy. I don't recommend it for everybody. However, that opportunity has been amazing for me. I now get to work with our local sports team in the Northwest and really support them in their yoga practice and mobility when they're doing their professional athlete thing. Full body systems. So this one, I really love full body systems. I can see in the chat that a lot of people have gone into full body systems with Andrea Nakayama. She's actually a Portland resident, as am I. I saw her on a plane one time, and I had like a moment of, oh my God, this is a celebrity. And I realized nobody around me knew who she was. But I knew who she was, and that's really all that mattered. And I was like a little bit hyperventilating because to me, she was the queen of functional nutrition. So with full body systems, I loved this experience. I absolutely loved this experience. If you don't know a lot about FBS, it goes into every different type of system of the body and how each system of the body, it's an anatomy course and then it's a biology course. What Functional Nutrition Alliance did not do for me was a couple things. As it went through each system, which was incredible because you get so much knowledge on each system, what we didn't get to do was zoom out and see it all as a whole as much as I would have liked. So here's the immune system, here's the digestive system, here's the urinary system, cardiovascular system. And we got really deep into the weeds on those, but I still was lacking how all of this comes together and really affects a human. So that to me was a little bit lacking. The other thing was lacking was the fact that once I graduated, I was actually even more frustrated. And this was not because of FBS, because I think FBS is a great experience. But what was really, I struggled with was seeing all of these issues that maybe was a digestive issue or an immune issue or a urinary issue, and trying to work with doctors or, NDs or whatever it is of the client that I'm working with, and not being able to get anywhere because they don't know what labs I'm hoping to order. They don't know that what a GI map looks like. They don't know what an HTMA or a Dutch test looks like. They don't know how to read it. I knew how to read it because I educated myself. You don't learn that in full body systems. You learn that in FDN. So what was hard for me was the fact that I was unable to order some of these tests and dig deeper the way that I really wanted to, because their practitioners or their doctors weren't able to align with me in that way. And that's no fault of their own. That's just not how they're educated. So full body systems was an incredible experience. It really laid an amazing foundation for me. It definitely left me a little bit lacking on what I ultimately wanted for my career. And that was to uncover the root causes and see the full body as a whole. And that's really where FDN kind of played a huge role for me. Okay, so let's talk about FDN, because I've been in your shoes on trying to make decisions. Maybe you're in FDN currently, or you're trying to figure out, do you want to be in FDN? Or maybe you're like, well, I actually am in FBS, or I'm thinking about FBS full body systems. What makes FDN different? I'm going to tell you. So I was considering many certifications at the time. I'm pretty much always considering a new certification. Not anymore, actually, I'll be honest. FDN kind of was that end game for me, and now I just do a lot of education with them afterwards. But FDN ultimately goes deeper. So it is about nutrition and lifestyle and mindset. Yes, it's also about the root causes and linking every single one of the systems together. So like I was saying prior to, I really struggled after IIN and FBS because I was feeling a little scattered. FBS gave me such an amazing foundation. What it lacked was tying all of those systems together for me. And so that's what FDN did. Functional labs and real data. I already kind of alluded to this, but you need to have the data. More importantly, you need to have the connection with the client. Without the connection with the client and understanding what they're going through, data is just data. But when we have them married together, it is the most powerful tool you will ever have ever in your practice. You don't have to sell anyone anything because you're showing them what is happening. So it gave me the ability to test instead of guess. It gave me the strength and the confidence to show the client, this is what we're seeing, and this is how it's relating back to you. This is what we see in your body. Do you feel this? And it is the most incredible, validating experience. Often comes with tears for the client to say, yes, no one has shown this to me before. How did we find this? And what the heck are we going to do about it? That's all you really need. Then we have the true mentorship. This honestly is the gold medal for me, truly. Of everything that FDN offers, the mentorship truly is amazing. And I have to admit, I think every certification that I have, which again is several, they all have some kind of mentorship program. Let me tell you why this is different. The clinical advisor sessions are truly the most incredible sessions you will ever experience, because you are sitting down with someone that has done this longer than you, that has a different perspective, and that gives you all the tools you need to understand the data and then apply it into a functional protocol that supports the client to feel better. I will truly say, so Courtney Cowie is my favorite. So my shout out to Courtney Cowie, right? I adore her. Every time I have a new client, this is the God's honest truth. Every time I have a new client, I get a clinical advisor session with her for 90 minutes every single time. And every single time I sit down with Courtney, she is the most kind, patient, incredible person to sit down and share and brainstorm with you and listen to you and connect the dots with you. It is 90 minutes of me and Courtney talking about a client and coming up with a plan that makes sense for this client. And it is amazing. So I truly think that FDN has a gold mine with their clinical advisor sessions. I don't know if you've done any type of sessions with laboratories. Vibrant is one of my favorites. They do, 30-minute consultations on a lab work, and that's just not enough. You need 90 minutes with someone who has been doing this longer than you, so you can not only guide your client in the most effective way for the most positive health outcomes, but also every time you have a conversation with one of these clinical advisors, you are smarter than you were before you started. And it's amazing. Clear framework. Now, this is amazing as well. With FDN, they tell you exactly what you can do as soon as you're done doing it. You graduate and you have a framework. You don't need to worry about it. It is all there for you. How you meander and shift around that framework is up to you. And I will definitely share with you how I did that to make it work for myself. There is always true transformation. Honestly, there wasn't another certification that really hit home for me in the same way that FDN did. And I will be the first to admit that part of the reason I'm so successful today in my business is because I have stacked. I've stacked a lot of certifications. I probably could have saved some cash and time, but ultimately every experience has been an amazing experience. Not only do you have these true transformations with your clients, you have these true transformations with your own health. I have an FDN brain. There is no way I will ever go back. It's like I have completely swapped out my old brain for an FDN brain. So anytime anybody is discussing anything that has to do with their health at all, my head is always in problem solving. My head is always in root cause resolution. My head is always, what can I offer this person that is just going to give them a little bit more so that they feel confident in what they need to do going forward. So that's how I made my decision. Okay, let's talk about the real stuff here. Going through FDN was fun. I am going to be honest about that because I was super excited. This couldn't be a more honest progression. I was so excited to start the course. I was just head first. No, don't dip your toes in the water. And if you know me, you know that I don't dip my toes in the water of anything. I am head first, always figure it out later type of person. I knew as soon as I started the course that it was the right decision. In fact, I remember the moment I spoke to my husband and said, this was perfect. This is exactly what I needed. I'm good. Now, then you go into a total overwhelm, because you're like, whoa, this is some seriously in-depth, incredible information. And I remember one of the very first modules, Reed was talking and he said, I will never forget this. He's like, you're going to listen to the modules over and over again. You're going to go need to take a walk and you're going to need to listen to these modules over and over again, at least 3 times. And I kid you not, I listened to modules at least 3 times. And I laughed every time I did it because I'm like, well, he was right for sure. So this overwhelm of information, it made me recognize that ultimately this education is incredible. But what I truly needed was to honor myself and how I learn. So that's when I dialed in. I will be transparent in saying I am a slow learner. You might not believe that, but I am a slow learner. It takes me time. I was actually just talking to someone who asked me about FDN the other day on Instagram, and she asked me about my learning style. And my learning style was the same. Every time I opened up a module, I had a gigantic notebook, and I would pretty much write down everything they said. Not because it wasn't available to you in slides, because it is. Not because it isn't available to you in quizzes and notes, because it is. They provide everything that you need. But because I know myself and I know my learning style, I needed to make this kinetic. I needed to have a full body experience. I needed to hear it, I needed to see it, and I needed to use my body and write down what was being said in order to have that full immersion of this information. That's when I nailed it. And everything after that was smooth sailing. So my advice is honor yourself and know how you learn, because that's when you really excel. Now, one of my favorite parts about FDN at the end was the practicals. And again, I don't know what the practicals are like now, because I graduated in 2023, in May of 2023. But I remember the practicals, you had a certain amount of time that you needed to do it. You had case studies, and then you had the practicals with the clinical advisors, and it was always a lot of fun. And I remember over complicating everything, because that's typically what I do. But every time I did a practical and a case study, I was so proud of myself, because my clinical advisor every time was like, you absolutely nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. And I remember, because I dialed in my learning style. So that would be my advice, is to just be true to who you are in FDN and what you need, and you will excel and get what exactly you need out of the program. Okay, so let's talk about what happened once I actually graduated. Okay, so from student to practitioner, I felt so ready. I took everything that I learned, all the systems, the protocols, everything that I learned. My confidence was through the roof, because I nailed so many of those case studies and those practicals, and I was on cloud 9. Now, here's what I did. I did not just graduate and then sit on my hands. I was prepared. So I created the buzz before I graduated. I already had clients within my nutrition practice, because I had been in precision nutrition, because I had been in IIN, because I had been in FBS. And let me tell you, it was a slow going, and I had capped, and I'll show you that cap here in just a second, but it was slow going. But I had a good amount of clients. I knew a lot of people, and I loved that. So I talked about what was going on. With every client I had, I said, I am graduating from functional diagnostic nutrition. Isn't that exciting? I can order labs for you and tell you exactly what that means. Hey, you know that roadblock that you have with your health right now and why you're not gaining more progress? Fear not, I got you. We'll come back to this in May of 2023, which obviously was just a month or so later. So then I created the buzz. I built the programs. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. FDN gives you so much framework. For me, I took that framework and I adapted it to what I already knew was working for me and my systems prior to FDN. And I'm super happy to talk to anybody about those. But I created my offers. I set up my labs, all of my dispensary accounts. I did all of the things that I felt I needed to do, so that by the time they said, here is your certificate, I was onboarding clients. I also made sure I asked for high value investments. I will never forget one of the conversations that I had with Antoinette. She was a clinical advisor. Maybe she still is. She was amazing at the time. And one of the last practicals we had, she said, hey, how much are you going to charge? And I did what I'm doing right now. Okay. I hesitated, and I was like, I think this should be it. And I will never forget this conversation that Antoinette said. She basically talked to me like she was my mother. And she was like, absolutely not. The value that you are putting into not only FDN as a certification, but what you are doing and what I am seeing in your case studies and your practicals, you are so beyond that. And she told me to triple it. That's literally what she said. She's like, you need to at least triple it. And I almost choked. And then when I got off of that call with her, I almost cried. And then I went to my husband and he was like, well, yeah, you should. You've been working so hard. So I created, and I got uncomfortable. And I'll be honest, I did not triple it. That made me so uncomfortable. I was not ready for that. But I will tell you now, today, I have more than tripled it. Okay. So I needed to kind of slide in a way that made sense for me. And I more than doubled it. I just didn't triple it, but now I'm more than tripled. Okay. And then I launched with momentum. I was so ready. I was like, let's do this. My community was ready and we did not mess around. I enrolled 20 people in the program in 30 days and it was bananas. And I'll tell you more about that. I also learned the sustainability lesson. So 20 new clients in onboarding and functional labs. You have to think about the functional labs you have to go through. 20 new sets of functional labs in 30 days. I don't think I saw my family. It was insane. It was so fun. And I was so empowered and I loved every single second of it until I didn't. And then was like, wow, that was a lot. And I realized this lesson about 4 months later when I kind of was slowly settling in. And that's when I learned the sustainability lesson. And we will definitely talk about that. Okay, so let's talk about the fun stuff, the revenue and the growth journey. Mine is a little bit different than everybody else's, but I think everybody else has a very different story. So it's worth noting that, like I said, I did have a sustainable practice ahead of time, right? So I had many certifications prior to FTN, and this is my average about 60K to 75K a year, and I was pretty happy with that. I was also working fairly part-time. I would say I was about 30 hours a week or so working with clients and feeling really good about it. Here's the difference with FDN now versus pre-FDN. I needed more clients to sustain this income than I need to sustain this income. Okay, so that's definitely worth noting. Okay, so when I graduated in 2023, but the first 5 months of graduation, or I'm sorry, within the first 5 months of the year prior to graduation, I had taken in about 49,000 in revenue. That was a big year for me. I was also creating buzz. So a lot of people that were coming on prior to my graduation were simply coming on because they knew that FDN was going to help them change their life through me. So I was growing that first 5 months, and that was an incredible year for me. It was the best year I'd had in the first 5 months of 2023. Now, in the first 30 days post-graduation, that was insane. I had 39,000 come in revenue in 30 days. It was unreal, and it felt, I don't even know if I have good words for it. It felt surreal. It absolutely felt surreal. 20 clients enrolled, 6,700 per program. So imagine if I had actually tripled it. Can you believe that? Right? I know. 4 month was the payment plan. So I actually allow my clients to put out a payment plan that makes sense for them. Okay. So most of those people were in a 4 month payment plan. And we had a little bit more revenue in the beginning because more work is needed to be done in the beginning. So I actually have people put more down in the beginning, and then we're able to go through and make the payments make sense for them. So the first 90 days post-graduation, this is not including the 49,000. This is the first 30 days was 39,000. In 90 days, it was 84,000. And then by the end of 2023, I had reached 201,000. And after FDN, the 7 months after FDN was over 150,000. So it was a very surreal experience, and it was an amazing year. Now, what I learned was that I cannot sustain 20 new clients every 30 days. And I needed to pull myself back so I could be present with myself and I could be present with my family. So in 2024, I was like, okay, I need a cap on clients. I really need a cap on clients. So I did. I capped on clients, and all I did was client work in 2024, plus networking and all of those other things. But this was all client work. And then in 2025, which is this year, so far, I'm at 151,000, but I'm projected at 180. Now, this is different because this is now I'm not just doing client work. I have other forms of revenue as well, which I will share with you as well. Okay. So this is a little bit of a chaotic slide, but I really liked the photos, so we're going with it. This is my business today. So this is what I do. You'll see right here in the middle, it is 20 to 35 hours a week I work, and this definitely changes from week to week, depending on my client load of the week. But you'll see I really have sustainably, as of right now, anywhere from 15 to 20 clients are on my books at a time. I have found that if I do more than that, it is a lot on my brain. Can you do more than that? Absolutely. Have I done more than that? Absolutely. Have I made more money doing that? Yes. For me, it is an active choice to have less clients so that I can have time for everything else. So here's about my hourly, just being in front of a client. Okay, this is just being in front of a client. Zoom sessions is the way that I rock and roll here. Then I've got casework. Casework is 5 to 10 hours weekly. That's going to be my clinical advisor sessions. Sometimes I hang out with Courtney a heck of a lot more than I think she wants to, but that's okay. And then I'm writing out case notes. I do a lot of that so that people have a play-by-play on what they need. And then lab reviews. A lot of this is lab reviews. What's going on, getting into research, making sure I know exactly what I'm seeing with the client so that when I do speak with them, they're very confident that I know what I'm talking about. Administration work, not a lot. I don't have to do a whole lot of that. Most of that's in casework, but messaging, emails, managing my wait list, billing, scheduling. Yes, I have a wait list. And yes, I keep it there without the pressure of pulling people in because I need balance. Networking is definitely something that I really enjoy doing. It's not all the time, to be honest. I try not to spend too much time actually doing workshops and podcasts and things like that. I do love doing it. I just cap myself on 2 to 4 hours a month, again, to make sure I'm spending time with myself. I do write for featured articles and newsletters across the country, and I have a really good time with that. So that takes up some time every month. Like I said, I am a yoga teacher. This is my happy place. So I only teach one yoga class a week unless I am working with the professional sports teams and they need me for whatever reason, then I definitely go in there. And then, of course, I'm planning a retreat because why wouldn't you? Social media takes up a lot of my time. This is kind of an accident. And I think that a lot of people on the chat, which has been really fun seeing. So thank you for following me and commenting on my slides and how they're aesthetically pleasing. I love that because this is how I build my social media. Social media happened on accident. I have over 100,000 followers. I don't know really how that happened, to be honest with you, outside of the fact that what I decided to do was stop following the norm of what everybody else tells you need to do with social media. And I started following my heart, and I wanted to see things on social media and Instagram that made sense for me and what would I want to engage in. That's what ultimately I ended up doing. But needless to say, I spent a lot of time in Canva. I definitely connect on Instagram. I love talking with people on Instagram. So it is me on the other end of Instagram. There's nobody that manages this for me. I don't pay anybody to do any of this. All of this here is 100% me. I don't allocate this to anyone else. I nurture and I grow my email list, which I didn't realize was so incredibly important until earlier this year. So now I have an email list of about 5,000, and that feels good because I've grown that in the last 7 months. So we're going to continue to focus on that. And then, of course, there's development. So here's just here's one that I just actually made. So I put a little image in there. But it has building new resources and program updates and continued education. That's a must do for me to feel like I'm connected. Okay, this is probably one of my favorite slides too. Authentic marketing. I'm going to be the first to tell you, I don't love sales, but I'm pretty good at it. All right. I love doing it. The only reason that I am good at sales, though, is because I'm an authentic person. I don't give anybody anything less than the truth. I love being who I am, and I love celebrating people where they're at. So authenticity is always my strategy. I said this about social media. I don't follow formulas. I don't chase trends. In fact, I don't even niche. And I think that that is something that a lot of people are going to hear, that they should niche. I'm telling you right now that I'm not really sure you need to. I haven't, and I feel good about it. I think that FDN is already so niched that you're there. That's just my opinion. Relationships always come first. If you're building good relationships with people, you are going to go very far. You can't be in a marriage or a relationship or friendships or whatever and only give 10% and expect them to stick around. Are you kidding? You have to pay attention. You have to give more. That's just the way that it goes. Value for everyone. There is never a time that I don't help someone. I don't care if they're paying me or not. I'm taking care of myself financially and my family financially. So if I can give any type of information to anybody, I'm going to do it. 5 minutes of my time talking to someone on social media or on the phone and helping people and giving advice on something and offering support costs me nothing. In fact, what it does do for us is it puts so much more good into a world that needs it right now. So for me, this is everything. Education, also everything. You can't just stop, okay? After FDN, I did not stop, but it was a final resting place for me. But instead, I got into their many, many advanced courses because they were all there and they were all available to me. So I just kept going. It took me forever because of my ridiculous note-taking, but that's exactly what I needed to do. Consistency does build trust. We have to be consistent. You have to show up. You know, and if you don't show up, hopefully it's for a good reason, like you're sick. But in the most, you want to be a reliable person. The more value you give, the more relationship you are building, the more authentic that you are, and the more consistent you are. That is how you build a business that sustains you. Confidence is pretty important. That's very important. If you don't speak confidently and really truly believe in what you're doing, we're going to have a hard time, right? So speak with confidence. Know that you are absolutely the best of the best, and you'll do fine. Give more than you take. This kind of goes down to value for everyone. Generosity builds community. So if you've been on my Instagram page, one of the big things that I started doing on Instagram that I really loved is I started making certain posts that were very informative and heavy available as PDFs, not only for other FDNs, but also for doctors use them, surgeons use them, plastic surgeons use them. I've had so many people reach out and say, I'd like to put this in my doctor's office. And does it cost me any more money to actually make this PDF available for people? No. But am I able to go and expand to others and make them healthier just by having this resource? Yes. So I am generous with what I do. I am generous with my time. I'm generous with what I have available. I don't ask for anything. It comes to me because I give more than I take. And then I am who I needed. So at the beginning of this, I shared a lot about my childhood, how difficult it was for me. And one of the things that I learned in many, many years of therapy, to be honest, was that ultimately I just needed to reparent myself. I needed to take care of who I am. And I take care of my clients in that same way. I cannot tell you how many times I have cried with clients in a functional timeline session, which is an onboarding session, because so many times these people, men, women, doesn't matter, they come on and they're sharing this story with you, and they are desperately wanting to trust you because they desperately need to be heard. And that puts so much beautiful weight on your shoulders, and you just cry. Like I try not to cry like a baby. I just try to like be misty and maybe do one of these, doesn't really do anything when you do that, but still, you know what I'm saying? Being who you needed being who you wanted and who you really deserve for someone is ultimately what I'm always trying to strive for. Okay, resilience is not just for the client. So if you know FDN well, we talk about resiliency in FDN. Your body needs to be resilient in order to heal itself. Absolutely, we know this. But this is not just about the client being resilient. This is about us being resilient. There has never been a time or a year that I have gone through without immense failures. It just doesn't happen. But the thing is that truly it is about perspective. And I'm sure all of us has heard and seen this before, that, you know, if you have a failure, take it as an educational piece and move on. Yes, that is absolutely right. It is so much harder to do. But entrepreneurship is not linear. You've got to ride the waves and you've got to be consistent. So right here, consistency always beats perfection. I'm a Virgo. I love being perfect. Remember, I liked the perfection because it helps me avoid some of the negative attention. But you just be consistent, and that in itself will help you to ride those waves. Embrace the inevitable slowdown. There are definitely times when you're going to have lulls in your practice, and that is okay. That's enough time for you to create space for yourself, to reevaluate, to do some networking, to do some programming, to do some social media. You are always taking that time and you are reinvesting it in your future business. I cannot express how important that is. If I have time in my day and I'm doing something outside of, I want to go for a walk or I want to do yoga, I'm taking care of myself. It's what can I do now that's going to help me next week, next month, next year? That's what I'm doing. And you're not going to sign everyone. In fact, I really don't think you should. There have been times when I have said, and this is something FDN teaches, is this is not just an interview for please, you should hire me. This is, do I want to hire you as a client? And sometimes the answer is no, because you're going to have a very close relationship. You're going to be best friends or married to this person, metaphorically speaking, for however long your program is. And sometimes you do not want to hang out with that person, and that is okay. You can refer out. You can give them a different resource. You can say, maybe not right now, I have a wait list, but let me call you, and you can reassess later. You're also going to find that you're not the person for everyone. I'm not the person for everyone. Maybe you're listening to this and you're like, oh, she's not my person. That's okay. We don't have to be each other's person, but we're here and we're learning from each other. Always show up with integrity and heart. This is a big one. This is the biggest one for me. If you cannot feel completely authentic and vulnerable with integrity and open your heart to clients, they will likely not connect with you as well as they could. This is huge. Alignment for long-term success. This was a big one for me. This was the, oh my gosh, I cannot sign 20 clients in 30 days again. That was out of control. What can I do that supports my body and supports my family? And that's what I really want to make sure I'm focusing on. Okay, last few slides. We're almost there. FDN framework with flexibility. This is what it is for me. Okay, this is not, FDN did not tell me to write any of this or say any of this. This is honestly what I believe. So for me, this is about clarity and connections, data over guesswork, mentorship that sticks, repeatable client roadmap, and a flexible roadmap, in that order. The client is going to tell you what's going on with them. It is our job at that point to do some investigation, to ask questions, to be curious, to listen. Sometimes it's just listening that's healing. That is one beautiful thing that IIN taught me, is that sometimes just listening to a client is all they need to unload and feel better. Health history connects the dots. I never, ever do a mediocre onboarding session. It is always about 90 minutes of conversation, sometimes longer. And this one, again, sometimes can come with tears. It's understanding where they came from. It's understanding who they are. It's understanding who they need. It is understanding what you can provide. And then they finally get to understand what, why, and how things are happening, because you're an educator. Doing an FDN course also makes you an educator, and it is amazing what you can do with what you already know. You can dumb it down in a way that makes sense, or you can level it up in a way that they need. Data over guesswork. Test instead of guessing, always. I was in a perpetual state of guessing before FDN. That is true. There was only so much that I could do with people up until 2023 when I graduated, because it was the testing that really helped me understand what are we seeing and how can we relate this back to the client. Labs guide protocols, and we get to track them clearly. We get to connect the labs to their current health complaints, and we get to show the client this is what's going on. Isn't this amazing that we now have answers to what's going on? And sometimes labs will then beg the question, we probably need to look deeper at this. There's rabbit holes that are there, but the end of the rabbit holes are always so gratifying when you get the answers you need to help put the client at ease. Mentorship that sticks. Again, this is the gold medal for me, the clinical advisor sessions. Every single time it's built into my program, that 90-minute conversation, so that I can have it with someone that's been doing this longer than me. Repeatable client roadmap, clear steps to move the client forward from intake all the way to their results, all the way to their graduation. Systems reduce chaos and save energy. That is the truth. I had to really meander around my systems and make sure that I was fine-tuning in ways that made sense for me and, again, my family. My family is always my number one priority. My husband, my 3 kids, my 2 dogs. If they're not happy, I'm not happy. FDN fits beautifully into that because I'm able to make a sustainable income to help my family, but I'm also able to guard my peace. Flexible roadmap. I've adapted a model that supports my energy. My programs offer support with the clients without overwhelm to the clients. You can continuously build whatever it is you want to build because FDN gives you a lot, but you get to take what you get and change it into what makes the most sense for you. So key takeaways, and then we'll jump into Q&A, is authenticity and kindness. This is number one for me. All of these are so important, and I know I've kind of talked about them already, but I do what fits in my values and energy. I never chase trends, niches, or formulas. Realness and kindness creates real trust every time. Just be who you are, and you're good. Relationships come first. Trust and safety fuel conversion naturally. Again, I'm not a big salesperson. I am a conversation person. I am a let's get on the phone. I'm not going to tell you about how my programs work or how they cost yet or how much they cost yet. I'm going to listen to you. That's all I really want. I just want to listen to you. I want to offer something. If this is the end of our relationship in a 30-minute phone call, I'm going to leave you with something. I'm going to give you something back. I'm going to hear you, and I'm going to support you in a way that makes sense. I might even point you in a different direction, but always give something. You're speaking and selling, I guess, but do it with curiosity, and it won't feel like that's your job. Education. Always continue educating yourself because science is ongoing and we need to stay up on that. And then again, I am who I needed. I talked about that. That's so important for me. Who do I need every day to show up as for myself? That's how I'm showing up for my client. And then confidence and consistency. All right, we did it. So if you want to connect with me, you can absolutely find me. I am on Instagram, Health with Kelsey. Website is www.theholistichealthlab.com, and you can email me, you can book a call with me, you can do whatever you want. I am here to help and answer questions.
All right, baby, not bad for kicking off the month, I would say, or our series of events, Bather. So if we could drop a thank you for Kelsey in the chat, please do that. Kelsey, this was seriously awesome. And I like how you gave real experiences, especially, I'm biased, but of different things that you went through also with other courses and how there's a lot of validity there, but then found your home at FDN. I still cannot believe that increase in the first month when you graduated FDN. That's kind of insane. But I'm glad that you learned from the insanity of it and still got to take on a bunch of clients. Just wanted to say this because this person had already thrown something in the chat before you were even done. Just said, thank you, Kelsey. I needed this motivation today to finish the FDN program. So excited all over again. I'm dialed in. So thank you. Helping out our grads and trainees, not just people that are new to FDN. If you guys see me glancing over and you're new to all of this, it's just me looking at the TV here so that I can see the chat easier. We got a crazy setup going on. We are now going to get to Q&A. But as you know, I promised you guys we have a few other giveaways that we have to do. So we're going to give away another Amazon gift card right now. I'll tell you how to qualify for that. And then what we will do is after several questions, we will give away one FDN advanced course. There's actually 6 that we're able to choose from. I apologize. I think I said closer to 10. There's still a great list for you guys that we can choose from. And so the winner will be able to select from that. I love Holly, man. Holly, your energy's been fantastic. Holly said you over-delivered in the best way, but she's been your fan literally from the beginning here. So thank you, Holly. You rock. And love all the thank yous coming through. All right, so we're going to leave this screen up. This is one thing I'm going to ask, please, is even if you're an FDN trainee or graduate and you're like, oh, well, I love Kelsey. She's great. I'm not going to work with her, though. I'm about to be an FDN myself. If you could just do a small favor, just make sure you go follow her or something like that on Instagram. That would be fantastic. And you might say, oh, Ev, come on, why do I have to follow her? You know, she got over 100,000 on Instagram. Guys, we are constantly up against, you know, algorithms and people that might not like the stuff that we're doing for a variety of reasons. Industries, let's say that, not so much people, but industries that might not like what we're doing for a variety of reasons. You and I all know that we're changing people's lives. We've changed our lives through these philosophies. So a simple follow, simple likes on the posts and comments, that helps more than you realize. You don't have to book a discovery call or be her client to actually help her quite a bit. So if you believe that she did a great job today, which I totally do, simple follow, likes here and there on some posts when you see them, that does add up and help quite a bit. All right, let's do a giveaway here. I probably should have done the next giveaway before throwing in questions. Let me make sure I have the questions saved because this chat gets spammed here. Cool. Looks like it's just a bunch of thank yous right now. So hold up on the questions until we get done this because I have some pinned from earlier. So my other one apparently was too easy for you guys. So let's see if someone was paying attention. And Kelsey, we don't have to go back to this slide yet. What was the money collected in her first month graduating FDN? So not the 20 times 6,700, but the money collected. Put that number in the chat. It was 2 digits. Well, sorry, 2 digits with a K for 1,000, right? So who will get that first? It takes about 30 to 60 seconds for it to come up. There is a delay. So I will put the chat back on the screen just so you know we're not ripping anyone off here. Always being honest with you guys. All right, let's see who gets that number correctly. 39,000. Rachel was correct right away. Very well done, my Canadian friend, because I saw that you are from there. So that will be Rachel. Let me get her focused up here. Beautiful. Congratulations. You won a $100 Amazon gift card. Nice job, Rachel. Remember, we still do have one more giveaway in just a little bit here, folks. But Rachel is the winner for this one. So, Rachel, if you'd be so kind, if you have an Instagram, if you could just shoot us a direct message, please, at FDN Training. Obviously, I don't really know your actual name here other than seeing Rachel. I don't know how to contact your email. So if you are on Instagram, go there. If you're not, drop it in the chat. And then we will get it figured out. Folks, the good news is we are able to see whose inputs were before. I'm not trying to be rude to anyone or argue, but if we go to the chat overlay here, we can objectively see that Rachel's was before. So that is who won. Congratulations, Rachel. All right, let me share or stop sharing the overlay here. Here we go. And then, by the way, just to verify, Kelsey, I think they know I'm telling the truth because everyone said 39. Can we go back to that slide for just one moment? I always like to do things in full transparency.
Yeah. You got it. I like full transparency. I think we talked about it.
And yep, perfect. First 30 days was 39,000. So thanks for humoring me there, Kelsey. Let's apologize to make you keep moving around here. Let's keep that final slide up for a few more minutes. I want to make sure people can follow you if they want. Let's go to some of the pinned questions. Throw any other questions you have in the chat. What's the next events, by the way? You're probably like, all right, this was just the start. What the heck's going on the rest of the month? Well, I will admit this was a particularly great session. So don't understand that there's going to be a variety of sessions that we do for the remainder of this month. The next thing that I have for you guys, though, is actually at 5 o'clock Eastern today, a little bit later in the day than we would normally do. And that's just because people are working or they have their businesses or whatever it might be. At 5 o'clock Eastern today, we are doing a graduate roundtable. So a graduate roundtable. What that means is we are pulling in graduates from the FDN course, obviously. And they're just sharing their experiences with you. Grad roundtables are really fun because I do not prep them on the questions. We ask them some very serious stuff to make sure that the FDN course was worth it for them. And I want you to hear from people that aren't just Kelsey and the Leahs out there. They're amazing. That's why they're on the keynotes. But not everyone even needs to hit these numbers for FDN to be worth it. There's some people, guys, that don't even have a business. They graduate from FDN and they only used it to help the health of their family and themselves. And that ended up being worth it for them. So if you'd like to hear from them, please join us at 5 o'clock Eastern to 6. You can throw your questions in the chat as well. It's a great place to come hang out. If you're a graduate or a trainee of the program, typically those sessions are not as well suited for you. But if you really feel inclined to show up and support, I'm never going to complain. I just don't want you to think that there's anything new for you. This is particularly for people that are looking into the FDN course and want to take advantage of our biggest Black Friday sale ever, $2,000 off the course. We've also have never done more a sale that was more than a few days. So it started today. It's already live on the website and you can get it until December 1st. Cool. Let's go to some pinned questions from before. Interestingly, this was also Rachel. I don't know why there's not a background on this. Apologies, guys, if that's text not looking too good. Anyway, Rachel had said, I'd love to connect with Canadian FDNs as people here are much less likely to go private because they think we have free healthcare. It's a huge frustration for me. And actually, the original question, I'm sorry, was how can people afford those prices in this economy? So there were some amazing things in the chat here. And Kelsey, I want to ask your opinion on this directly. This is one of my favorite topics, though. And Rachel, I'd say this the same way no matter who asked it. Okay, this comes up at least once per major live session that we do. Now, you're talking from Canada, so I actually pulled up the stats for you from there. I also don't want to insult anyone because everyone's situations are very different. Some of us make it very far into life, and we might not have substantial income or wealth. That does not mean that these people do not exist. And so I'm going to list off some statistics that show you people that absolutely can afford this. Now, keep in mind, folks, there are people that, this is a crazy concept to me because I'm good at making the money. I have to always automate stuff to manage it well. I get a little crazy with the spending. So I'm good at making. I have to be careful with the managing. Some people have the opposite. They make $40K a year for their whole life, but you know what they did? 10% every paycheck. 10% goes to save 10%, 10%. And so they might have more than you think. So I'm just going off numbers of people who objectively can afford this. In America right now, for our American practitioners, and by the way, if you're in Canada, you can work with people in America. No problem there. Very common, actually. 18% of Americans make over $100,000 per year. Now, that one, you could say, okay, well, maybe they're living paycheck to paycheck, but somehow they're not managing that well, and you're going to argue that. Okay. Right now in America, and this is defined by net worth, by the way, not income, there are 24 million, if you want to be specific, just because it is a little less, 23.8 million millionaires in America alone. Now, I know no one's going to believe that if you're not familiar with these stats, so please go fact check me on Google. 23.8 million people have a net worth that is at or exceeds $1 million. If they have a chronic health issue and they know that you can help them, yes, they can afford it. I went to Canada. So 25% of people last year that filed taxes had over $100,000 in income. Now, of course, the conversion rate's different from Canadian to USD. I get that, but still 100,000 is obviously a lot of money. And there's 2 million people in Canada, which I believe only has a population of 30-something million, so about the state of Texas or California, are millionaires as well. Now, again, it should not only be millionaires or people making $100,000 a year that can afford it. That's not why I'm saying that. I'm showing that to give you guys numbers of people who objectively and absolutely can afford something like this. So just something to keep in mind. And I'd like to talk more about that if anything comes up, but that's my 2 cents on it. Kelsey, I kind of secretly wanted to give you a second to breathe as well because you've been presenting for a while. I would like to know, what do you think about something like this? How does your mindset wrap your head around it? Because you obviously had some issues with that in the beginning, even when an FDN mentor told you to raise your prices, which is not something they do for everyone. I actually have hardly ever heard about that. So they really meant that when they said it to you. How do you deal with this?
So I think this is the beauty of having autonomy over your own business. I really do think that that is something that people get to decide. And I'll be honest, I I have brought people on not at the prices that I offer, and I don't necessarily blast that, but I also get to make those decisions for myself. I have brought people onto different types of programs, and I over deliver because I feel a tug on my heart, and that's just the way that it goes for me. So I think that once again, if we're making decisions based on what feels right for us and what feels right for a client and a potential client, then it's going to come back tenfold.
Mm-hmm.
I help people for nothing. I help people for $10,000. I get to do those things because we have the framework and we have the ability to make those decisions. And so the economy is the way that it is right now. Yes, we also get to decide what we want to do with that, with each person.
Got it. And I don't want to, man, I love this topic so much. It's so tough for me. I'll stop on this soon. I probably have another 90 seconds in me. So I love when people say this economy, the richest economy in the world ever. Like people have phones and computers or whatever. We're not in medieval times. Now, I'm not saying there's not disparity, and I'm not saying that some people don't struggle, unfortunately. That's not what I'm saying. But the bottom line is the people that got it, they got it, man. And a lot more people got it than ever before. So there is a thing there. And then let's talk about more of the principle side of this and all of this. The reason I get so excited about it is because at 18, I didn't have much going for me. I had very severe mental health stuff going on, substance abuse problems, and I got myself kicked out of school. And I never graduated from high school. I don't have a college diploma, and I thought my life was over. I grew up in an area where it was you study hard in school, you go to college, you take the opportunities that are granted to you from living in this area because my parents worked their butts off as a landscaper and a waitress to make sure my sister and I could go through a good public school district. And what do? I get kicked out and don't even graduate. And so I'm thinking my life is over and I'm going to screw everything up. And I got introduced to a group of young people. They were the same group of young people that actually ended up getting me into health, thank God. And they got me into personal development first. And I started to learn these principles about income and the economy and all this stuff. And you know what's so insane is I can show you guys lectures. I'll actually drop one in the chat once I send something to Kelsey that she can run with for a little bit. I'll drop one in the chat. I was just listening to it this morning. I swear on my life, that's still what I do to this day. I'm listening to a lecture it has to be from the 80s or 70s. And you know what the guy's saying, Kelsey? Same things as today. Oh, you can blame the economy. You can blame the government. You can blame the politician that just won. He's talking about minimum wage and blaming that and all that stuff. Same thing 40 something years ago. And some of us transcend that and some of us do not. Last thing, I swear on my life, this is the last thing I'll say on this because this is too big. And I'm not saying this to sound like a saint. I am not someone that you want to look up to if you're looking for a saint. I'm just someone who follows principles of saints sometimes, and they seem to work very well. You want to make more money than you've ever made in your life this year. Everyone watching this, everything that you make, have an automatic deposit that does this. The net income, so if you're an employee, you already have net income. You don't need to worry about that. If you're a business owner, you do need to take out the taxes first. Net income, 10% of that goes to a fund. I don't care how tight the bills are. I don't care if the electricity is, but I've done this. 10% goes to a fund. That 10% does not have to go to some mega church down the road. I am a Christian, by the way, but it doesn't have to go to some mega church that I don't support. That's not what I'm saying. That 10% is your do good stuff money. You buy gifts for random people. You help the homeless person on the side of the road when you feel so inclined. You donate to that person's GoFundMe on Facebook, and you do it without any expectation of anything in return. You will make more money this year than you've ever made in your life. I guarantee it. It is something that my wife, when we first met, didn't really understand. She's like, why are we giving away 10% of this? My wife, when we first met, was making $3,000 a month. Within 3 years of us knowing each other, she was making $25,000 a month. There's just principles and weird things that happen in this world. So Kelly, let's get on to the next questions here. Do you use any services to help with admin, biz management, and social media?
In terms of, I use platforms. So maybe I can elaborate on that a little bit. So I use Practice Better for my my practice itself. You know, it's great for managing clients and HIPAA compliance and all that. I don't use any services for my social media. That is all me still because I'm too type A to give that to anybody else. And then outside of that, I really don't. I have tried, and truly, I am just not in a point where I am willing to go down another rabbit hole that I can't control. I still want to have all hands on deck that are mine. So I don't even know if that's a good question or a good answer, but that's my truth.
It's all good. All right, let me get back to the questions here. I'm just doing this one because, well, it's a comment that came in later. I'm not ignoring your questions from before. I just had to get back to this part of the chat. Really appreciate Holly saying this. Holly said, here's another point to consider. She's saying this, I make very little money right now and spend it all on trying to feel well. 10K is nothing if I think it might help me. I borrowed money, sold things, etc. And guys, by the way, obviously, Holly, I don't want this to be the situation for you. You clearly don't want it to be the situation for yourself. When I was 21, I made $500 a week and the lab tests cost $300-$400. You guys do the math, right? It was pretty hard for me to figure that out. So that is why I believe in doing good things as you continue to make more. You use that 10% to help individuals that you feel intuitively inclined to help in that situation, or that you know are, I want to use this word correctly, because the idea of us deeming someone worthy, that's not what I mean by that. When I say worthy, I mean, like Holly, if I know you privately and I know you have tried everything, and I know if I donate this program to her that she's actually going to do it, that's what I mean by worthy. It's not like, oh, I have gotten to play God today and decide that Holly's worthy of my money. That's not what I'm saying, guys. I'm saying that I know that this person's actually going to use this money for something good. Guess what? Holly can get a free program then. That's how it works. So, and then guess what? When you're doing that, when you're living your life that way, helping others in that way, making more money is a lot more fun, because literally you're just able to give more and do more as you move along. Tony, do you customize labs per person, or do you stick with a few standard ones then add others as needed? So basically, Kelsey, do you have your own version now of your kind of foundational labs?
I do. When I first graduated, I definitely used all the 5 labs with FDN and found that they were extremely helpful. And then as I continued down my education and got into some of the advanced courses, I started using Dutch for hormones. So I really love Dutch. Still use the GI map to this day. Vibrant is actually a great company. They have a gut zoomer that's a lot like a GI map. So it adds a little bit more of an immune system quality to the gut. I also use a lot of toxicity testing as well, because that's a big one for a lot of people, is some underlying toxicity where we need to get that out of the way to really move the needle. So I love that one as well. I definitely wouldn't say I put everybody in the same category. I think this is where building the relationship with the client and having those initial conversations are extremely important. And once you have those initial conversations, you basically have a good understanding of where we really need to look. Almost always it's the GI map. We always start with the gut, and we understand what's going on with the gut. And then hormones can sometimes be one of those things that we will address as we get some of those other stressors out of the way. So I like to be a little bit fluid, but I would say generally speaking, I look at the gut, nervous system, and hormones. And then I like to look at toxicity.
Awesome. All right, another question. And if you don't mind, I am going to, just so they can see your lovely face, I am going to remove this just for now. If anyone needs it, we'll throw it right back up. I still haven't figured out my tomato-ness here with my lights, but we'll get that figured out hopefully before 5 o'clock. All right, next question was, how do you handle the payment plans where you do not get burned? I've been relying on Klarna, Shop, Credit Care, etc. Which, guys, for those that aren't in the business side yet, what Jamie just listed off, those are third-party finance options. That means that it's ultimately on the responsibility of those companies. Whereas if someone does an in-house payment plan, like FDN does that, right? We have in-house payment plans. So it's not a credit check. We're just literally taking your payment and relying on you to do the right thing, of course. So Kelsey, if I can reframe this a little bit, Jamie, Kelsey, one, have you ever even been burned? And then how do you deal with the payment options either way?
I'll be honest, I have not been burned. I don't know if I'm just lucky or what, but I do think that this comes back to relationship. and like how well I'm having a relationship with someone, and how well we're communicating. But in Practice Better, because I do use Practice Better as kind of it literally manages my entire practice, and I do my payment plans with them. So when I first start with someone, there is an initial larger investment because we're covering labs and I'm covering my time and all of those things. And then that's an invoice that I provide them so that if something weird were to happen, my time has already been accounted for and I don't have to rely on those payment plans, right? So then all the payment plans thereafter become my time, my sessions with them thereafter. So if something did go rogue, then I can say, well, I guess we're done with this, but I've already been compensated for my time and my energy.
Great, very smart. And by the way, you are not the only person that I've heard say that. So, and guys, this is not to say that it can't happen. If you work with 10,000 people, statistically, you probably have a few psychopaths in there. Maybe they just screw you over, right? Hopefully that doesn't happen to you. But no, the reality is I do think it is something to do with the way that you operate, Kelsey. When you were providing exceptional services, people figure it out. They pay for that. There is a reason that there's a lot of surgeons out there, but some surgeons have months and months and months, if not years, of a wait list because people are dying to go there and pay for that service. Kind of crazy, right? Good question here from Elevation Seeds on YouTube. Is the clinical advisory session with every client at an extra cost for practitioners? So it is, but I'd love to know how you work that in, Kelsey, because if you're already assuming it, is that kind of part of what you're budgeting out in your packages?
Yep. So when I set up all of my packages and my programs, I make sure that any cost is that I need to sit down with a clinical advisor is automatically already going to go into the program. Easy as that. I don't have to think about it. If for some reason I don't need a clinical advisor session, it's really straightforward, then that's just extra money in my pocket.
I will tell Courtney you said the nice words too. That's beautiful. And by the way, just so the person has an exact price, didn't want to withhold that from me. It's $65 for 30 minutes with our clinical advisors once you're graduated. So you can kind of tell too, especially depending on the program that you're running, if you have a multiple $1,000 thing and you're already accounting for that going in, it's awesome because it really doesn't feel like anything to you. It's an expense for the business in a sense. And you don't have to tell your client this. It's not like you're hiding something. They don't need to know that necessarily. Certain clients, though, and maybe I'm biased because I'm at the company, but I have used this with certain clients to let them know, hey, by the way, some of the stuff that we're doing here, I'm actually going to go to my clinical advisors and get a second set of eyes. So not only you're getting me, you're getting them as well. I have found that every single client I've ever shared that with, although it has not been every client, if that makes sense, they've appreciated that. So it can go either way. Don't have to tell them or you can tell them.
I tell them. I like telling them because then they know.
Cool.
It's another team. It's another team that's looking after your case. I tell them every time.
Yes, nice. Okay, well, that's so interesting. I do not know if I've ever met someone else who actually tells their clients that as well. But I swear that they like it because it's like either you'd have to go pay these advisors thousands of dollars, or because you're working with me, it's a perk that you get this second set of very intelligent eyes, mind you.
Well, I think it comes back to transparency and authenticity. It comes back to, they trust you because I'm saying if I don't know something, I sure as hell am going to find out for you.
Yeah, good point. Well said. Kelly, have you ever done group sessions? And what are your thoughts on that, Kelsey?
I have done group sessions. Here's what I found works and here's what I found has not worked. Group sessions long term, so if you have a month by month, at least for me, did not work. Group sessions that you have for a certain amount of time. So let's say you have a 90-day program where you're enrolling 10 to 20 people in a 90-day program, those work. So if you really want to have kind of the end game, you want to have a finish line, and then you want to obviously have all the framework that you need throughout that program. Group sessions can be difficult because everyone has a question that's unique to them. So you do have to, orchestrate it just right when you are having group sessions. But one thing I would also encourage that I've done many times is if you do group sessions or you do group coaching, to have a one-on-one add-on. So if someone says, oh, this, if you're having a group session and they have very specific questions, it's like, Hey, Evan, those are amazing questions. I think that maybe we likely would need to have a 30-minute conversation outside of that and have an add-on fee so that you can really just speak to Evan or whoever it is. And again, this is more revenue in your pocket, but you're also giving them, what would it be like to be one-on-one with Kelsey?
Sorry,
Yeah.
I apologize for the awkward delay there. I'm reading a comment.
I love awkward pauses.
Someone said, Ev, you look like you came back from a run. Well, I'm glad you think this is healthy. I need to figure out this lighting. I paid way too much for this setup to be looking like a tomato. I think it's time for an advanced course giveaway. I think that's fair. I don't want to keep you guys waiting I mean, we're going to do more questions, but I do think it's time for that. They've waited very patiently. So what funny thing can I have you guys do now? No, I'm kidding. I won't do anything funny. But there are 6 courses that you can choose from. Just want to give you the options here before we get rolling. So this is not the question or anything. Here are the 6 tests that you guys can choose from. We have our stress and hormones test, which is an advanced Dutch training. That's really cool. Thyroid function test, blood chemistry, weight loss course, mastering client transformation, and blood sugar management. So these are the ones that the winner will be able to pick from. Whoever puts the word Kelsey in the chat first will be able to win this. Kelsey in the chat first will be able to win this. Let's get that chat overlay back up just so they know we're always being transparent. Good luck to whoever drops Kelsey in the chat first. See what we got. I love the delay. I usually do this on Zoom, Kelsey, so it's instant. There's so much suspense for this. I'm like, who's going to get it? Who's going to get it? Da, 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 da. And then we're going to get back to questions for a little bit. Don't worry. Bam! Oh, Rachel, come on. You're killing me. All right, I'll do 2 because they're going to get mad. I'll do whoever's after Rachel as well. They're going to, sorry, Brandy, if you're on COO, please don't be mad at me. I got to do 2 for this. So Rachel, because I never said that the person that won couldn't win something else. That's on me. Rachel, you did get this. And we also have Kayla right after you. So both of you will get advanced courses. I will honor that. In the future, I'm putting this on record now. Ev is not allowed to be doing that because Ev gets in trouble when he starts giving away all of our advanced courses. I did not say that today. I take responsibility. Kayla and Rachel, congrats that you guys are freaking awesome. So Kayla, same kind of thing. If you want, reach out to us on Instagram at FDN Training or email us fdninfo@afdnp.com. We'll get you that advanced course, my friend. Perfect. Gosh, they're probably watching this. They're like, Ev, he did it again. He did it again for the stupid courses given away. All right. What tests are covered in the FDN program? I can cover this one if that's all right. So we have our foundational labs that are covered, Sarah. So you will go over the MRT food sensitivity test. And by the way, we're doing a whole segment on this next week, all included in the free events for this month. So please check that out. But the MRT food sensitivity test. We have a stress and hormones profile. It's a salivary one, 4 samples throughout the day. Something called our MWP, Metabolic Wellness Panel. We do that as well. Our MBA, not a business degree, but a mucosal barrier assessment. And then the GI map stool test. Now, there is one other test that's not a lab test that is included in the tuition, and that's called our metabolic typing diet. So that's very interesting. And by the way, out of all the ones I just said, if you added them all up, it's about $1,200-$1,300 USD for all of those tests. Every single one of them is included in your cost of tuition. You are actually required to run those on yourself as part of being a student here. And people say, well, Ev, wait, if I'm on a 24-month payment plan, I can't do that, right? Yes, you can. That's us having good faith, right? That if we're doing the right thing and attracting the right people, that you guys are going to do the right thing. So even if you do a payment plan with us, we still get you those tests and we get you good to go. That is part of the tuition here at FDN. MRT is not always available in certain other countries, so we replace the food sensitivity test for you. It might not be MRT, but it is still a food sensitivity test. All right, next questions here for the lovely Kelsey. Oh, good one, Millie. This was the last one I got to before that advanced course. How do you find clients if you don't already have some from other programs you are running? And that is fair because Kelsey's unique in that you had some other stuff going on. So how would you find brand new clients?
So I'll give you stories on how I started my health coaching business before FDN. How's that? So I was as a personal trainer, it was a little bit easier, right? Because I was kind of in it, but it's just literally having conversations with people. I would just have conversations with people on a regular on what's going on. And, is there something going on with their health? And I'm talking to them about it, and it can be very organic. But I would say that I'm a big fan of networking and having conversations, but also I'm a big fan of using what you already have. And because I was a personal trainer, I got to talk to people that cared a little bit about their health. So that helped a lot. I also would go to boutique gyms. So if the kind of those smaller ones, like we have Bar 3 or Orange Theory or whatever the case may be, and having conversations with them, it's a little bit harder because it feels like it's cold calling a little bit. But once you have conversations and you build those relationships, it's so much easier. So I would do workshops with people, and sometimes you don't get anybody, but you definitely get conversations with people, and that always turns into something. So remember, the no is not a no forever. It's just a no, not right now. So just keep talking to people. That's my best advice.
True. And Millie, we have a lot of other sessions this month that will talk about that. My still favorite to this day, still works, actively doing it, in-person talks. However, how do I give an in-person talk? We actually have that material, the slides, recordings, marketing stuff for you, available to purchase after the FDN course if you'd like. They're $297 each. They're called our lecture packages. By the way, though, for anyone who signs up for FDN this month and pays in full, you do actually get a credit towards one of our lecture packages. So it is included technically for those that pay in full. And I just want to say this correctly because I feel like this could be misleading and I didn't mean it that way. Anytime you pay in full at FDN, any month throughout the year, you can always get a lecture package as a free credit. What's different this month is our largest sale ever at $2,000 off. So just want to be clear that that's not because it's part of Black Friday. You could pay in full in December and you would get that the lecture package as well. Okay, Alicia, I'm currently in the middle of completing an HTMA course. Is this subject part of your courses? Well, I think this is good news for you, Alicia. No, it is not part of our course, so there's no overlap there. It is something we touch on in our graduate group a lot. You'll see a lot of chat around it. A lot of practitioners like using it. But in terms of redundancy, because it sounds like that's around your question, there'd be zero by going through the main FDN course with this. And in fact, the HTMA can be a really great way to get people in the door. I'll always share my business secrets too. I have a business called the Autoimmune Recovery Lab with, I totally used my position here at FDN to get this guy. I love him to death. He's one of our former top clinical advisors, Ryan Monahan, and we do use an HTMA as almost like a leader product because it's a very, very affordable test. For those that don't know, you can get it around $40, $60 USD, but gives you a lot of insight. So I use that actually as a leader product with clients. All right. Next question. That was a point. Okay. So I just got to scroll down a little bit. And as long as I get you off before the hour mark, we're good, right?
Good.
Okay, cool. You rock. All right. Let me see if I can figure this out. So Jamie was the one asking questions before about the payments, I believe, with Klarna and all that kind of stuff. And then her follow-up here was, so can you give a percentage of that upfront amount, like labs plus whatever? Does that make sense to you based on what we were talking about before? Okay.
Yep, that definitely makes sense. So typically it's around 35%, 40% based on the program. So I have a few different programs. I have one that is called a Jumpstart program where it's a one-time $1,900 and you choose a lab that you want to look at. So maybe it's a GI map and we do a full onboarding, we do the GI map and we do a full results and recommendation session plus a 30-day or 30 days later check-in. So that one is, I don't really do payment plans for that unless I feel so inclined. And then I would probably do a half and half. With all the other programs, I do have a 4-month, a 7-month, and a 10-month program. It's all about 35 to 40% down first. And then I split it up amongst the rest of the months. What I do also in the longer program, so the 10-month program, is I have all of the payments split up between 5 months. So they have their first initial 35% down. And then for the next 5 months, I equal everything else out for those 5 months. Then the last little bit, they don't have to worry about money at all. It's already done. Adherence to a program can be a little bit harder towards the end because they are feeling so amazing that they're like, well, what else do I have to do? I don't really have to do anything else, right? I feel great. So sometimes you have to kind of like keep going with them. And it makes it just a little bit easier when you don't have to have the finances part of the conversation towards the end of the program. So that's how I like to do it.
Thanks. That's a good little trick of the trade there. M. McCarthy, it's got to be Melissa. Does Kelsey do any mentorship? So you're about to get some other types of clients. Do you do any mentorship? And just say yes, right?
Yeah, I actually, so this is cool because I after I graduated from FBS, there was a really amazing group of people that wanted to mentor with me. And I said, well, yes, let's absolutely do it. So I walked them through how I do all of my programs and how I do sales and all that fun stuff. So I have done mentorships with practitioners. Yes. I should also mention for me, I consider Courtney my mentor. Like, I don't know if she knows that or not. she's kind of my go-to with everything, and she's one of the clinical advisors. So I like to work with her a lot. Business mentors, a little bit over the course of my life, but I've been in sales since I was 16 years old. So it's something that I eat, live, and breathe, and I build it on relationships. So I hope that helps.
Awesome. All right. Renee says, let's try again. I'm sorry if you asked it before. I did not see it, if that's what you mean by try again. But let's try again. Does NYS, so New York State, I'm guessing, recognize this certification? So here's the direct answer. Yes, you can completely do this in New York. In terms of recognizing the certification, so I'm guessing I would have to assume what someone means by that is that there's some legal standing with the certification. So there's no legal standing with this, right? If you're certified FDN, it's because you're certified through us. That's who's recognizing the certification. That means you can go out and call yourself an FDN practitioner without getting sued. So that is good. But we're the only body that's recognizing it in that way. There are some board certifications, like the American Association of Drugless Practitioners, AADP, that do recognize FDN. But it's not I get your question. I'm just letting you know it's not a question of whether or not the state recognizes it or doesn't recognize it. No state is doing either of those things because it's not necessary. So you can do FDN in New York State, yes. We can't ever get around, nor do we want to, because that would not be ethical or legal. The idea of like literal blood work, that's what's kind of funny, is something as simple as blood work is still always going to be hard in New York State and stuff. But the other tests, we can get to New York State. Even cooler, Renee, I'm not sure how experienced you are in the state because it's a slightly astute question, right? Not many people would even know that New York State would be an issue. So I'm assuming you might be some type of practitioner already. What's really cool about FDN is since we have our in-house medical director program, we like Avexia, we like Rupa. We have a partnership with Avexia, so nothing wrong with those places, but they are so big and working with so many doctors and practitioners, the last thing they care about is going through a few extra steps to get things into New York, because there is ways to get things into to New York that are legal and are ethical, but it takes extra work. Our medical director program, we have one set of clientele, and that's FDN practitioners and their clients. So there's actually things that we are able to get into New York completely ethically for our FDN practitioners that no other place does. So yes, you can't get around the stuff like standard blood work. Ironically, you'd think that'd be like the easy one. That's actually the tough one in a lot of states, or in a few states rather. But all the other labs, we're good to go, my friend. All right, and then a bunch of Kelseys in the chat. So I got to get through that really quick. Okay, little tip here for Restream. Maybe I'll have to figure out another way to do these competitions to keep it a little bit fairer, but just letting you guys know why it's happening. Someone had said people started putting Kelsey in the chat before he finished the question. So if you are not up to date on our live stream, or you started in late and then you didn't put it up to the live thing, that is why you are seeing it late. I'll try to get a little bit more creative. Maybe we can do a random giveaway, like everyone enters a little prize wheel real quick, and I can do a live draw for you guys on the other keynote. Sorry about the delay, guys. A lot of people not liking that delay. Don't worry, I'll have a prize wheel for you on the next keynote. Do not worry, we'll have that figured out. Okay, awesome. This is just a good comment here. I've had 2 people that told me they will support if I had a platform just from conversation. Yeah, one of the things I always recommend to our FDN practitioners is, you might not be like Kelsey, where Kelsey kind of already had this identity, at least in health, right, Kelsey? Even if you weren't an FDN yet, you still were in this health space. But some of you might be an accountant. You might be a teacher. I've interviewed, I'm pretty sure, a physicist on our FDN podcast. So a lot of people coming from these different things. So there's a strategy that I teach on the business side, which is rebranding yourself, right? People right now, if I asked any of you, assuming that if you live like in a home and not in a place with like a condo association, if I asked plumber, landscaper, or how about this, barber, hairdresser, dentist, doctor, we all have a name or a business that we instantly associated with, right? There's instantly something that came to your head for that. What I want for people eventually is when they think, for me, I've been in 3 different niches, acne, mental health, and autoimmune. Right now is autoimmune. So when people think autoimmune or their family member tells them at Thanksgiving, this Thanksgiving, that they have an autoimmune condition, Evan Transu, autoimmune recovery lab. That's what I want to get to. So one of the ways to rebrand is to start educating people on what you're learning as you're going through the course. And that's how you can get people like Elevation Seeds here that are already getting some people interested before they're done. So great job. I always recommend, it takes about 8 months on average. It's self-paced, so that's why I say on average, for people to get through the course. You spend 8 months, even once a week, guys, 30 minutes making a nice post that educates people on something. By the time that 8 months is done, people are going to start associating you with health stuff, lab testing, and these interesting concepts rather than whatever you were in before. Kelsey, I want to turn this into a question. If you, maybe you wouldn't know this because you didn't do it, I suppose, but if you did not have that kind of health brand identity prior to FDN, what strategies might you use to help get a clientele base ready before graduating?
How would I get a client base without FDN? Is that what you're asking?
No, just like before being done and graduating. Maybe it really is as simple as my tips. I don't even know what else you could give us.
Oh, if I didn't have my base the way that I had my base.
Yeah.
I mean, it still comes back to the conversations with people, honestly, and just I'm such a people person that if you're having conversations with your family and your family's having conversations with friends and you're having conversations with friends, your clientele is going to start with the people that are in your inner circle. And I think that's okay, because that inner circle will then pull out to the outer circle and outer circle and outer circle. And that's how the majority of people that come to me are referrals. It's not from social media. Come on, right? It's from referrals. It's because when people work with me, they know that I am going to be on point every single time for them. They're the only person that exists for me when I'm talking to them. So for them, they want to talk about what we're doing because we're making progress, and people want to express how their relationship with me has helped them feel better.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole awesome kind of can of worms to open. Maybe not for today, but guys, it's the first handful of clients. When I say handful, I might mean upwards of 20 to 40. That's always going to be the toughest. I'm not saying it's tough. I said it's the toughest. You do a good job with those, man. People notice when family members and friends are getting the healthiest they've ever been, and they start to tell people about you. It's really cool. All right, Michael, awesome question here, and really only relevant for Kelsey because I wouldn't know. What are keys to building an Instagram and other follower accounts to a high level? Yes, giving more than taking, consistent posts. Michael understands that. But to get the eyes on the page and grow to those levels, what are some keys that you suggest?
That is a good question, Michael. I'm going to be honest. I'm still trying to figure out my Instagram algorithm because I think it's foreign language, 100%. And I do well on Instagram. And I'll tell you that I'm guessing, but here, let me give you the good answers that I have. So back in January, I've done the whole Instagram growth thing where you're like, okay, well, maybe I can hire this thing and maybe I'll get more followers and whatever, all of those things that say, go get we can build your following by paying us X amount every month. I've done that before and it didn't work. And here's why it didn't work. It doesn't work because Instagram works on engagement. Instagram works mainly, this is all things I've learned in the last 6 months, by the way, on saves and follows. That's really what the algorithm hits. So if you are creating something that is save worthy, if you go to my Instagram page, you will see I have a lot of basically one pagers that have so much information that it might make your head blow up. But it's a lot of things that we've learned from FDN, quite literally. That's like, here's how hormones work. Here's how estrogen works. Here's how testosterone works. And I build these resources so that someone would want to share them, and then want to save them. Because when you do that, you're suddenly in the algorithm. But once I got out of the everyone, the do this because it works thing, where you can buy like for $40 a month or something like that, you can buy these already generated Canva slides that you can then put your own branding on and change the color and all that stuff. And then you post it on your page, and it takes you 30 minutes to post for an entire 2 weeks or whatever. That does not work. Not for me. It did not work for me because everyone else is doing it. So in January, I started basically changing the way, and you could go, if you want to go down my list, the rabbit hole of my entire Instagram page, you can see when I made the change because it's very obvious where I made that change. But I basically started saying, what are the things that people are going to save? And what are the things that people are going to share? And what are the things that I want to see? Because I want to learn, and I'm a nerd. I took FDN for a reason. I wanted to learn everything that they could tell me. So for me, I took what I learned in FDN, and then I put it on these share-worthy, save-worthy posts on Instagram. And I don't do anything outside of that. I don't pay for followers. I don't pay for branding. I don't pay for collabs. I don't do anything on Instagram outside of being my authentic self. It takes forever to build these posts. So let me make sure I'm very clear. It's a time investment, but it is very cool when you see this time investment really go into this growth that now suddenly you're gaining all of these followers a day, which mean nothing, by the way. Followers are like, they're followers, it's like, it's very cool, but what does it ultimately do for your bottom line? Nothing, outside of the fact that you're giving out to something that is so much bigger than yourself. And that is my goal, is to give more than I take. So if somebody is saving something or sharing something, and suddenly they're like, you know what, I didn't know that could help me feel better. That in itself, truly, and I'm not saying this to be a saint. I'm not a saint either, but that truly is why I do it. I do it for me. I do it for fun. I love designing stuff on Canva. And then I put it out there. So it's fun. And then I put it out there and people use it. And that's what makes me happy. So Michael, the answer to your question is the same stuff I talked. It's not sexy. It's the same stuff that I talked about this entire presentation. Is be yourself, do what you would want to see, be who you would want to have taking care of you, and everyone else resonates with that and they come to your community.
I'll ask one follow-up if I can really quick, because, Michael even said, yes, giving more than taking consistent posts, like, gets that. And I don't think you're underplaying it, Michael, by any means, but there is one missing piece that always comes up when people say stuff like that. Kelsey, how long have you been actively posting on that Instagram?
Probably since 2019. It started as a personal. So let me give you a little bit of history. It started as a personal page, and then it was a professional page with me and my best friend doing macro coaching. So you could just go back and see everything. The colors were different, everything. And then what we essentially did was I created my own business. And then in January, February, I started gaining like 10 to 30 followers a day. And then when I really changed the way that I posted, and again, you will see it, you can see basically the exact post that I changed. That's when things definitely propelled. So it's been a long time, but you get to be fluid with what resonates with you. And I do that every day.
Yeah. The reason that I asked is because, we've all seen a following take off early on. Yeah. I get that. But there's something to be said about not only applying the principles that we're talking about here, giving more than you take, giving value, all that stuff, but doing it for 6 years straight. That's a long time. And that's a lot more than most people are willing to do. And you could flip this just as easily, right? There's someone else that might say, oh my, 6 years, only 118. I wanted 1 million followers by then. It's like, so you got to go into this without any guarantees. And so some people I might never hit, for example, myself, I'm not even close to that, right? So I might never hit 10 million, 15 million. Maybe I'm just not even equipped for it. Maybe I'm not hitting the right people for that. Maybe I just get unlucky. Who knows? So I think it's a special type of person that has that grit. And I think the fact that you enjoy it is probably one reason that
Yeah.
stick with it. It's probably a little bit easier to stick with if you genuinely enjoy it.
Yeah, and I think it is worth noting, so for a little bit on the timeline, is back in January, I believe I had 12,000 followers. So January of 2025.
Oh, whoa. I
Yeah.
did not realize that.
Yeah, so maybe I should have said this. But in January of 2025, I had 12,000. And that's when I was like, I tried everything else, okay, that everybody said to do. And then in February and March is really when I started to do my own thing. And I ditched all the stuff, the here's your ready-made posts and all that stuff. I ditched all that and I did my own, and I wrote my own captions and everything. And I started doing that in February and March. And then from there, I just slowly grew to be like, oh, there's 30 followers a day, there's 50 followers a day, there's 400 followers a day, there's 1,000 followers a day. And obviously it ebbs and flows. Like, you're never going to just be on this trajectory, right? So like 2 weeks ago, I think it was like 700 followers a day, and now it's like 150 to 200 followers a day. And again, you ride the waves, but if you're authentic and you do what makes sense for you, the person that is talking to you, Evan, right now, this is how I am at home. Like, just be who you are, and people will resonate with that. So I have not been consistently posting for 6 years. I have been consistently posting since February.
Gotcha. Okay, very cool. Thank you for specifying that.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do a couple more here, guys, and then we're definitely wrapping up in 10 minutes. Remember, 5 o'clock Eastern today, we have a grad roundtable. So if you are interested in the FDN course, great news. This is why we did these 3 weeks of events for you. We want people in our community who want to be here, right? That's the bottom line. As you can tell, we're very community-oriented. Kelsey and I have been separated for years. Like, we haven't even really gotten to talk, just hear about each other through the grapevine, and then finally get to come together. But you can see such a similar vibe because that's who we attract into our community, correct? So we want that for you guys as well. The reason we have these events is so that you don't have to make an impulsive decision when we give $2,000 off, which again is the largest discount we've ever done on the FDN course. We don't want you to have to think about that for 24 hours. Come enjoy some of these events, really get to meet us, see the different graduates, and make an informed decision as to whether or not it's for you. And of course, we're like most places, we do have a course enrollment team. This is the best part about our team and knowing the sale up front. If you call them, there's nothing more that they can offer you. They're not going to tell you it's $3,000 off. I swear on my life that doesn't exist. I doubt that'll ever exist at FDN, certainly not anytime soon. So you already know what the sale is for the month. So you can call them and have a truly consultative process where they can figure out if it is a good fit for you or not, if you'd like to do that. All right. Have you ever had someone not happy with you and want their money back, Kelsey?
No, but I will tell you a story that I actually stopped coaching someone, and it was an interesting, like, mutual thing. So remember when I was saying that sometimes people are not your people, and you will know in your gut that sometimes people are not your people? I saw someone say that they thought my puppy was cute, so I'm going to answer this question with her. This is Violet. She just wants to be a part of it. So basically what happened was, when I was onboarding this person, I had a gut feeling that she was not my person. And I did it anyway, because it was a referral, and I didn't want to say to, her friend to say, oh, Kelsey rejected me, right? And that wasn't it. So I felt obligated to take this person. And I'll tell you what, every conversation was really hard. It was not a good fit, and I knew it wasn't a good fit. And she, about 5 months into the 7-month program, she said, I think that I'm going to go a different direction. And I said, okay. And that's when so she never asked for any money back. She just said she wanted to go a different direction, and she wanted to work with a Chinese medicine doctor. And I said, absolutely, that is totally fine. A little relieved, if I'm being honest. And I stopped the payments at that point because she still had a little bit left. I stopped the payments at that point, and I stopped the sessions at that point, and that's how it ended.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I share this sometimes, so I don't want to only answer good questions that sound good. I have had to do that one time. The person asked me, to be clear. I did do it, And want to know what, guys? It was years ago, and I didn't do all the labs, and it was a bunch of limiting beliefs. I didn't charge full price. So there's never. It's always a good reminder of that one for me to remember that the only time that that's happened is when I undercharged and didn't do all the labs because I thought the person didn't want to pay more for it. Well, they really didn't want to pay when they didn't get results. Shocking. So good lesson for me still to this day. Okay. Looks like even without prizes, I feel like I won just by attending.
Uh-oh. Evan, are you there? Is he frozen? Oh, thank you for telling me. But you can still hear me? Okay, Evan's frozen. Can you hear me? Okay, that's so funny. Okay, am I missing any questions? It feels dirty to me that people need to do, yeah, I totally understand. Intuition and authenticity is so inspiring. Thank you. Social media can be really, really hard. Okay, it's just me on my own. Evan, great. If you have any questions, throw it in there, please.
That's a
Hi.
great time to lag. Right? You just took over the Q&A. You're doing great. Kelsey's awesome, man. We're bringing her back for everything.
I was like, wait, what happened?
I'm so sorry. Guess what? We only have like one or two more, so we're about to be good to go. I apologize, guys. Oh my gosh. At least you guys are still paying attention. Just do me a favor. Thank you, Millie, for these nice comments. The questions were done. Please put a final thank you for Kelsey in the chat. So exciting to just get to start off a 3-week event this way. But if we can put a final thank you for Kelsey in the chat, that would be great. I think this person just wanted this quick follow-up though. So do you just have a no refund policy like in text, or is that even something that comes up for you?
I do. I do have it in text. I have a whole legal document that they have to sign before coming up. And it is a no refund policy. I definitely have my own autonomy on that. So you get to do that, but I do have that written out. Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, I basically just made it to the end. So maybe that was our sign that it's time to give you a break. Again, guys, I can't express enough. It's probably obvious now, though, now that you got to hear her for 2 hours, but just a pleasure to work with. So glad that people like this are a part of our community and helping out. Really looking forward to doing more speaking opportunities with you in the future. I'm sorry, because you kind of started out with like a big one, right? Like it doesn't get much better than a keynote here at FDN, but we would love to do other things with you in the future, maybe some case studies. And guys, last thing, please. I know so many of you did this. Just throw a follow to Kelsey. Really simple. I know she gets a lot, but it does mean something when you have people in your corner supporting, because the bigger that you get, the more you get people chiming in and saying, oh my gosh, this can't work. That doesn't work. So it is nice to have some people that are there in your corner and always supporting you. I feel that on our relatively small YouTube. I can't even imagine having 120,000 people looking at me on Instagram. So every little bit of support that we can get is great. I will see some of you guys at 5 o'clock Eastern. Remember, we have sessions throughout the rest of the week. I don't even want to act like I can recite them offhand. Make sure you're checking your calendars. It was all on the invite. However you got here, just check the schedule for that on that same sheet. And we have case studies next week, business success sessions. Please do not miss. If you make nothing else outside of this one today, make the keynote on December 1st. You guys love this today. I can see it by the chat. Right? That's how we do it with the keynotes. We always bring awesome folks onto this. So December 1st, 1 o'clock Eastern, we will have our closing keynote with the amazing Leah Brueggemann, and I'll be doing a prize we'll give away so as to not anger my chat. But congratulations, Rachel, for the double win today, Kayla, and the other name who was a YouTube handle, and I can't really remember. And the schedule's right there. Thank you so much, Nitty, for dropping that in the chat. Kelsey, any final words of wisdom before we hop off?
No, I would say if you give me a follow, also send me a message and say hi. That's way more fun anyway. So I'd love to connect and say hi to people. And yeah, don't shy away from that, because it's always fun and it's me on the other end.
Kelsey, when I end this, it'll stop us going live, but you can stay on with me for a second because then we'll go in the back room together. You guys rock. I will see some of you again at 5 o'clock Eastern, hopefully for our graduate roundtable.